Hi, this is Dr. Parikh, and I'm going to talk about your first week in the Psych of Women class. So the weekly to-do list is really, if I were taking this class, this is the resource I would need to understand all the readings and videos and assignments and when it's all supposed to happen. So each of these either link to an online resource. Readings are from the textbook. The videos are ones that will probably be linked by the time you get here, but they're videos like this one that I'm making right now. Most of the videos I use are sourced through YouTube, even if it's something where it's, even if I originally find it on TED or on another resource, on another website, I try to find it through YouTube because then when I go into Blackboard, I can hit weekly modules, readings and resources, and I can, if it's through YouTube, I can link it right in and you can watch the video here. You can do things with that. You can also, if you click there, you can go over to YouTube. So let me real quick, I want to show you a couple tricks about using YouTube. Oh, there's one of the videos finishing saving. So you can go in and change the subtitles, so you can make sure that subtitles are on. Everything for this course should have subtitles. If you see something that doesn't, please let me know. But then you can also change the playback speed. So what I find, sometimes if someone's walking me through how to do something, I might want to slow it down. That happened in the last video, and it finally was like, hey, this happened. Anyway, if I'm really, really focused, I can often watch, especially if I have the transcript up, so I can go open transcript. You can also, a lot of these you can go watch over on TED. Is that going to take me to it? No, probably not. But if you go to the TED website and search, you could probably find it there if you like their transcripts better. But especially if I'm reading as it goes and really focused, I can play at about 2x speed. So if you're tight on time, that might be a way to get through the material faster if you can focus. But I also find that if let's say I slow it down just a little bit, I have a better chance of being able, or do it at regular. I can, I might be able to do it while I'm folding laundry or doing something like that. So really think about how to get the most bang for your buck. Be very intentional about how you do these readings and videos, because there's a lot of them. So what I would recommend is to do as many of the readings and videos as you can as early in the week. And even, if you wait for Monday morning to start doing the readings and video, you're going to have a really stressful week. Try to, around Thursday or Friday, be starting to go through some of the readings and videos for the next week. Let's see, I'm not super picky. I've tried to kind of group things in themes, but I don't think there's a particular order you absolutely have to read things in. The one exception might be, I think, these first two readings that focus on women's issues in the sort of 70s. I think that really, for me at least, as someone who is in my 30s, as a white woman in my 30s, it was hard for me to understand the importance of feminism without understanding what my mother's generation, my grandmother's generation, and even before that, what their experience of the world was like. To really appreciate how much of what I take for granted is really significant progress from even 30 to 50 years ago. So there's different videos. You can get to them. You can get to everything linked here through the weekly to-do list or through Blackboard. You can also pull up the slides if you want, and you can kind of read my comments as you go through. And it should all be linked through that way too. And this, sometimes I do a slightly different order from what's elsewhere, but it's fairly interchangeable. So the assignments, let's go. So if we go into, so we're in our weekly module, and now we go back to learning activities. The videos won't all be this long. I'm really walking you through where you find everything, and you can just play me faster if you want. So first is the introduction. So I asked for some information to give a little bit of a personal. Actually, I should probably edit this previous experience with writing because this is not our writing course. But you'll look at what I'm asking you for. For this one, I want a recent photo. When you upload a photo, there's two ways to do it. You can attach a file down below using like browse my computer button. I would much rather you put it right in the text. So hit the little photo icon, browse computer, and upload it that way. I think it's just a much better experience for your peers reading, and it's about the same amount of work for you. So if you're going down and attaching it at the end, it comes in as a link at the bottom. But if you attach a photo, let me see if I can find something. I have nothing great. So, sorry, this is thrilling video. All right, so you insert a photo. This one comes in kind of big. That's not a big deal, but it shows up right here on the screen. Whereas if I were to, we'll see, I'm not going to dig through. So let's say I do this photo down here. It's going to attach just as a link at the bottom. So let's say, so it's got my photo. It's the same photo, but that's just a file where I keep those sorts of photos. But my photo, my little profile photo shows up, and I do want you to put one up. I'll give you some bonus points if you do. And then the photo reads in here in the one that I loaded through the button, reads in right here. The other one I have to click and download. And hi, my family. And I'll just delete that. So anyway, so the first one is an introduction. Be careful of dates here in the weekly to-do list. I can only set a due date for when I want the first post. So I try to give you reminders and check boxes for when you need to go back and have your responses in. I also try to list the point values of each assignment because I'm very pragmatic and I know sometimes something has to be cut out of your life. And so, you know, it may help you to look and see what is, you know, which work is worth the most when you're deciding what you have time to do. What else? So if we go to the discussion board, I usually like just going to the folder where things are. You can look and see there's another one that's the rules for the discussion board. So for this, I really want you to interact with other people. And if there's a rule you particularly care about, maybe make extra posts. And typically I give about 1 bonus point, up to 5 bonus points on a post for each extra response you give. So if you're required to make 3 total posts and you make 5, you would get whatever points for this plus 2. And for this, I say you can have both rules, so things like you must follow this, and if you don't, there's a penalty. I mean, maybe not a penalty, but I would let you know that you're not following the rules you set. You can also set these aspirational guidelines. What are we striving to do as much as we can? And then you're also going to think about this character analysis paper and coming up with a fictional female identifying character. So I don't want it to be someone from history. I want this to stay fictional just to keep that distance for us. And I want you to come up with 2 different characters who you might be considering and then link to a resource, whether it's an IMDb page, a Wikipedia, some fan page, just something that gives us a nice summary of that person. So it needs to be female identifying, so it can be a girl, woman, trans girl or woman. And then for each one, so link to a material and also include 1 or 2 sentences about why you think this person would be a good choice for this paper. And then when you're all done with your 1 post and 2 responses to other people, make sure you come back to your thread and say which one you've decided to use. So those are your discussions. Sunday, your first autobiography is due. That's really quick, but I also want this to be a fairly fresh, unbiased view. So if possible, start working on it before you read and watch a lot of things. So you're going to have a first draft that's focused on so you're going to focus on course concepts such as gender identity, beliefs about women and girls, understanding of gender roles, participation in media, and understanding of intersectionality. So that idea that when you belong to multiple underrepresented groups, your experience doesn't neatly get described by any of those groups. Or you can't just sort of count up, well, I'm black and I'm a woman, so if you take the experience of black people and the experience of women, that's my experience. They're different, and the layers affect how you're treated and perceived in the world. This paper, many of the people who take this course, many of the people who attend our university are women, but you certainly do not need to identify as female for this paper. But at the same time, this is marketed as a class about women, and it's very easy to get off topic and go back to what's more comfortable to talk about, which is often men and masculinity. So I try hard to stay focused on women, but certainly if you are male identifying or if you're gender fluid, it's fine to talk a little, make sure you are also talking about your perceptions of women, and you would probably be comparing that with kind of how you identify gender-wise, but this class is certainly open to all genders, and so I want to make that clear. If you're ever not sure if an assignment does fit you and your identity, let me know and we'll talk through it. So this draft doesn't need sources. It just needs to be pleasantly readable. But keep in mind that as you go through, keep this draft in the back of your head and try to pick out sources that are going to be helpful for working with it. So I want it to be roughly APA style, 12-point font, Times New Roman font, double space, blah, blah, blah. So the main text should be somewhere in the range of 3 to 6 pages. That's a really big range. I'm okay with that. It'll probably be longer as you add citations because you're going to add in, you're not just going to cite your experience, you're going to add in ideas from the readings along the way. It's a pretty open and flexible paper. It's your autobiography, so it's going to be about your experiences. Please remember, it is always under your control how much you share with me. I will not mention, so things that you tell me in your paper, I'm not going to mention in the discussions or in other public ways. But it's still your privacy. You can decide you can think of something, know that it's really relevant for your understanding of gender or your experience in the world as a gendered individual, and still say, that's not something I want to share in this paper. That's totally fine. And it's okay if some things shift from one paper to the next, so maybe you take out some things, you put some new things in. I'm okay with that. But my hope is that you get to really see the progress as you go from just what do I start with to what's a more nuanced and informed view of things. So that's your autobiography, and then your quiz. Quizzes are going to vary in length, but they're typically not going to be terribly long. That's another part that I haven't quite finished up yet, so I can't tell you how many questions are going to be in each. The questions are mostly going to come from the lectures on the psychology of women, because that's kind of the most scholarly of the resources we're using. Sometimes empirical articles, I might pull a couple ideas from there too. They'll have a time limit. It'll be meant to be a generous time limit, but still enough to kind of push you to prepare before you sit down, rather than just kind of opening the quiz when you open the book for the first time. And you just get one try on these quizzes. But they're short enough that if you bomb one or even forget to take one, or they're few enough points that if you miss one here and there, it's not that big of a deal. And that's pretty much your week. As I said, don't plan to wait until the very end. Don't wait until next Monday to start working on Module 2. There's a lot of readings and videos in this class, and I think really hard about each one. I try to get a mix of different difficulties of readings so that there's some things like next week we do have, Module 2 has a journal article. It has an APA task force summary. It's the shortest summary I could find of this topic. It also has, much more casual, sort of professional. This is sort of what I think of when I think of like a professional blog. So it's sort of factual, but there's not a lot of citations. It's written in a very readable way. And then we've got an article from the New York Times, which is a longer, deeper article. I should say I'm recording this in February of 2020, and so a lot of my sources that I've chosen are more recent. I may try to switch out some of those sources as I go to stay up to date, but that can be difficult to do in online courses because there's so much sort of vetting of the material that needs to happen before it goes up. I have to make sure it's accessible in a lot of ways, so it's tough to just swap out one or two things. But I do want to acknowledge that these topics may not all age well. I've tried to pick things that are going to be ongoing, but my hope is that there's just a variety of topics and viewpoints and voices that really keeps things fresh, even when you do have a lot of readings and videos to get through. I think that should be all of this week. Again, schedule some time. Know that it's going to take a little bit of poking around to find what you need. Feel free to watch these videos as you're looking for things, and I'm here if you need me. Thanks. Bye.